We were named as semifinalists for the American Climate Leadership Awards 2025. Wait for it. Wait for it.
You ready?
KBLA Talk 1580 was recently selected as one of 10 finalists being considered for this prestigious award. Hundreds of organizations, institutions, and even cities were nominated in the selection process. But KBLA Talk 1580 has made it to the finals. You're invited to watch live on Wednesday, April 16th at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, as Eco America announces the winner and the runner-up, awarding over $200,000 in prize money. To watch live, just go to ecoamerica.org to register and attend the online ceremony. That's ecoamerica.org. Don't miss the presentation of the American Climate Leadership Awards 2025, Wednesday, April 16th, and wish us luck. Caring about the climate, caring about the community, changing the conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
I'm Tavis, Smiley. Glad what an amazing last hour. And I've been looking forward to this one as well. Just a good show all the way around, I think, today. In this hour, conversation with the President and CEO of Common Cause, Virginia K. Solomon. As you know, Common Cause is the foremost nonpartisan government watchdog organization, so there is a lot to cover with Virginia in this hour, including Common Cause's online campaign, WTF Chuck. WTF, Chuck. Now, if I need to explain that to you, then you've not been listening to this program for the past few days, but I'll let Virginia K. Solomon unpack it right now. Virginia, how are you today? Good to have you on this program.
Good to see you, Tavis. Thank you for having me.
It's my great delight to have you on. Tell me about WTF, Chuck.
Oh, well, let me tell you, we were not pleased. Well, I will just say our members were not. We have 1.5 million members throughout the country, and we got a lot of choice language from them saying, how could he just give away the leverage, any bit of leverage that we had to this Republican administration. And so they wanted us to respond, and so we figured it out, and we have a billboard in Times Square, and we decided we were going to ask the question. He's from New York.
Yeah.
WTF, Chuck?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, we need to see leadership, and that is not the leadership that we were looking for.
Yep. So since you went there, let me follow you. What do you think, what does Common Cause think that Chuck Schumer surrendered when he made that move?
Well, ultimately, I mean, the power of the purse is now, because the House did their job.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say, Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats in the House did their job. They said no. They pushed back. We are not going to accept this budget that we know is going to do harm to people. And by just going right ahead and going along with this Republican budget, and we heard the argument, let me just say that there would be more harm done if there was a government shutdown. But there was no attempt to even use that tool, the power of the purse, as leverage to make changes to this continuing resolution. And we know ultimately that people will be harmed as a result of it. We know that this impacts seniors, it impacts veterans, it impacts everyday people who rely on government support to be able to function in this society. And so it was just really sad for us to see that power just handed away.
Yep. So I started this program just moments ago, giving the audience some sense of what Common Cause does and has done quite well for so long. I got a bright audience. I think most of them already knew that. But let me just ask two questions. I don't tend to ask two questions back to back. Let me ask both and get out of your way for a couple minutes here. The first is for you just to tell me very quickly to the audience what it is that Common Cause, in fact, does do every single day. And then secondly, I'm curious as to how that work that you're about to describe is complicated in Trump 2.0. Take it away, Virginia.
Yeah, so Common Cause has been around since 1970. We were founded to be the people's lobby. Coming out of the civil rights movement, coming out of the Vietnam War, what we realized is that everybody's interests were being represented in Washington and in state capitals around the country, except for everyday people.
Mm-hmm.
And so our job is to be the people's lobby. And then the other thing is our tagline is we hold power accountable. One thing about us, we don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. We feel like we represent the voices of people and not parties. And so we're going to, whether you're on the right or the left, that is not important to us. We speak truth to power, and that is our job every single day to do that. As our organization, we sit at the intersection between democracy and civil rights. Actually, Dr. Dorothy Height was one of our founders, and that was intentional by our founder. Happy birthday, Dr. Height. Yesterday would have been her 113th birthday. But the whole point of our organization kind of sitting at that intersection is because, we know that this democracy was not made for everybody. That's what the document said, but in practice, that's not how it's been. And so our goal really is to make sure that we truly have a democracy that represents all of us, not just the privileged few.
Yep. So that second question, that's the second question. I'm sorry. That's why I shouldn't ask two questions at once. Looking at my clock, it wouldn't be fair to give you 10 seconds to answer. When we come forward, now that you understand what Common Cause does every day, there are a couple of things I want to ask Virginia. The first is the question I already posed, which is how that work is being complicated. That's my word. She can take it any way she wants to take it. How that work is being complicated, I won't say compromised. In Trump 2.0, we'll talk about that. And then she just made a comment a moment ago that I really want to probe, and that is this intersection of democracy and civil rights. I am curious as to how Common Cause sees this intersection of democracy and civil rights right about now. Speaking of right about now, you're listening to Virginia K. Solomon of Common Cause, and I'm glad about it on Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. Think about your mentors and idols, the people who inspire you the most. While it may look like they have all the answers, they don't. But they do know when to ask questions and seek the support they need. In a world that glorifies hyper-independence, it's easy to forget that we're all better with a support system. Therapy is a great way to find a consistent source of support in your life, so you can break free from the outdated belief that seeking help is a sign of weakness. BetterHelp has experienced therapists ready to help you with challenges ranging from anxiety and depression to relationships and stress. It's convenient, too. You can join a session with the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. You can even send your therapist a message anytime something comes up. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/ABCRadio today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ABCRadio.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you can receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Stories are power. The Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project is an effort to collect, preserve, and amplify stories of Black land loss. It will form an invaluable resource for scholars, authors, historians, educators, storytellers, policymakers, and change agents who wrestle with issues of restitution, reparations, racial inequality in home ownership, and the racial wealth gap. Through documenting stories of Black land loss, the archive will help demonstrate the magnitude of what Black families have lost and will continue the national dialogue to encourage paths to restitution, rebuilding, and healing. Support the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project by visiting www.blacklandlost.org or by donating at www.blacklandlost.org/donate. Spread the word to inspire awareness, activism, leadership, and change. And join us in making a lasting impact. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
The revolution will not be televised.
What's up? It is Killer Mike, also known as Michael Render, and I'm encouraging you to listen to more, not less, of Truth Time from Dr. Cornel West and Senator Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
And the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. Get tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley, the president and CEO of Common Cause, Virginia K. Solomon, who I'm honored to have on in this hour. So there are a couple of things you said a moment ago that I want to just go right to before we push forward here. And that is the second question I posed moments ago, which is the ways in which your work is, again, you choose your own word, but more complicated in this moment where we find ourselves in Trump 2.0.
Yeah, so I would say the second part of that, I don't think this is Trump 2.0. I think that minimizes what's happening there, because this is nothing like the first administration.
Right.
This time around is much, much worse, because this, for me, is kind of the convergence of the civil rights movement, McCarthyism, and the attacks on the Muslim community after 9/11, kind of what you would see all combined. It's much, much worse. Mm-hmm. And so I think for me, the complicated part, if that work, we need to be able to file lawsuits. We need to have adequate representation. They are removing representation from civil rights and democracy organizations or anybody who challenges this administration. For example, the leading and oldest Latino civil rights group, LULAC, just was released from Paul Weiss, the big attorney firm who made the agreement with the Trump administration, as a part of that agreement. They no longer represent LULAC. Paul Weiss has let them go. That is really problematic, because organizations who are doing this work need to be able to have adequate legal representation. And if attorneys are afraid to represent us, there's a big problem. That is one of the complications. The other, when it comes to protest, mass mobilization, movement, people are concerned about their rights. And so they're taking, more caution and more care than what they would normally have to do. Now, I could say for Common Cause, we made a very conscious decision that we are going to stand in our power and we are going to fight this every step of the way. And we're doing everything we can to protect ourselves, but we're having different conversations than what we've had in the past, because we ourselves as individuals and as leaders are also at risk, our personal security and safety, as well as the organizations and the people that we represent. So it's a lot different than what it was before.
Yeah. So what do you make of this fear? You used that word earlier. Colombia is scared. That's obvious. Paul Weiss, to your point, is scared. That's obvious. The Trump administration put out a list of law firms that they intend to go after. They sort of backed up a step or two on that. But what's I'm not naive here, but it is fascinating to me that so many of these institutions, it's one thing for an individual to be afraid of the Trump administration coming down on you. But these are long-standing, powerful institutions. Again, no naivete here. I understand that the President of the United States has powers that most of us will never have, none of us will ever have in our lives. I get that. And yet this fear is so palpable, but the fear amongst these grand, long-standing, legal, academic, etc. institutions is just mind-boggling for me, Virginia.
I mean, but Tavis, it always goes back to the money. I mean, ultimately, Colombia was afraid of losing money. They lost money from their research grants from the government. And then the same thing with Paul Weiss. If they lose their security clearance and they're not able to represent certain clients, that means that they lose those clients, because if they can't represent them, somebody else will. And so this is, I could get into a whole diatribe about late stage capitalism and what this has to do with that. But this really is connected to the money time and time again. And Donald Trump holds the power of the purse in a way and I know I've used that term a lot, but it's always going back to the money. And that is where they fear being able to have the money to do the things that they want to do.
Yep. So since you tease me, you can't tease me without pleasing me. So go ahead and make that link. Make that link to late stage capitalism. Take it.
Yeah, I mean, what we've seen all this time over the past few years, especially, and a lot of this goes even before the Reagan era and the way that we saw that greed is good kind of narrative. But we've seen corporations and the privatization of our country happening slowly over a long period of time where there is this concentration of wealth. And so the more that corporations have been able to assume wealth, and I will say there is a corporate structure within the university system as well. It wouldn't cost so much to go to school if it wasn't. So we have all bought into this capitalism, the structure of capitalism. The problem is that capitalism can't thrive without the money, right? That's ultimately what it's about. And government is now entrenched in this system in such a way where they have such a huge amount of power and control. When you don't have the ability to separate out corporate benefit from government and the benefit of the people, we are now in this moment where they are so intertwined, so closely connected, that the corporate state now has more control over our lives than we ourselves do, and is deeply tied and connected to what happens with the way this government is structured. And that was a problem before Trump, and it will be a problem moving forward if we don't do something about it.
If you accept, I'm not saying you have to, I certainly do, if you accept that Washington is bought and bossed by big money and big business, no matter who's in power, to your earlier point, common cause will come after you if you're Republican or Democrat. You're trying to speak truth to power, and I might add to the powerless. But again, if one believes that Washington, as I do, Washington is bought by big money and big business, isn't common cause always fighting an uphill battle?
We are. But it doesn't mean you don't fight the good fight. I mean, when you think about it, until there is real legislative reform around money in politics, campaign finance, until those changes happen, we're going to continue to be in this fight. But we think it's a fight worth having because ultimately people need to be represented, not corporations, when it comes to our country and the interests that serve the American public.
Yep. So earlier, I said I want to get back to this. I do right now. Earlier, you made this reference to this intersection of democracy and civil rights, which is where Common Cause does its work. But I wonder if you just might take a few minutes here and just illustrate for me or share with me what you see at this intersection in America at this moment, this intersection of democracy and civil rights.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people separate them out as if they're very different things. I don't see them as being different. And in fact, voting rights, when we finally won voting rights in 1965 and Bloody Sunday just happened, I was down in Selma and as many of us were, this was an important conversation because a lot of people don't realize in this country that we weren't globally considered a full democracy until 1965. So we are a relatively young democracy, so to speak, because until there is full voting rights, you can't be considered a full democracy. So that's number one. Who was excluded from being able to vote up until that time? And I would say they've attempted to disenfranchise since that time. It has been Black, brown, people of color, disabled, the women, the list goes on. So when we think about civil rights, we can't disconnect it from democracy. I think the other thing is, in order to be able to have a healthy multiracial democracy where all people are represented, we have to have systems and structures within our government to make sure that that's possible. And so we see currently the dismantling of the government state. So when you see what's happening with the attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion, for example, people are saying, well, you should just call it something else, or, they're bastardizing civil rights laws, the Civil Rights Act, to be able to say that this is somehow against white people, right? That the civil rights issue for white people, that they are being disadvantaged. That completely bastardizes the intent of the Civil Rights Act, which is to be able to create equal and even opportunities for people to be able to have access to whether it's jobs, education, healthcare, you name it. So this is an intentional and strategic and precision-like way to make sure that those rights are removed for some people to entrench white men in power. And I know that might sound radical for some people, but so we can't separate out, because who is running our democracy? Who is leading our democracy? Who is running our government? So if we're not saying that it's about civil rights issues, you can't have people being sent off to concentration camps in other countries when it is a very specific demographic of folks, and bypassing any kind of due process and say that that's democracy. You can't have Black and brown people in this country being questioned as to whether or not they are a diversity hire, with the inference that they are somehow unqualified because of their complexion or background because of this. So when we're looking at all of this together, you can't separate out the issues of our democracy and our government with everyday people and the attacks that are happening on people right now, the attacks that are happening on the civil rights community. The intent when the Constitution was created, it was never meant for all of us. It was for white, wealthy, landowning men. And so that is what many people in this country are trying to get back to, because the browning of America bothers them. So we can't have a democracy if we don't have full civil rights. It's full stop, period.
I want to get to, and I will in a moment here, your campaign launched earlier this year, your campaign being Common Cause's campaign launched earlier this year, a national campaign called #Fire Elon Musk. And the Washington Post backing out of Fire Elon Musk, the ad that they had placed. The Washington Post backs out of that. We'll get to that, I promise, in just a second here. Before I do that, though, because you're talking about democracy and civil rights, and you've used the phrase a couple times, everyday people. I love that phrase because I love Sly Stone, everyday people, right? I wanted to ask what agency everyday people have in this particular moment. When you watch the way that the Trump administration is moving, I wanted to ask, or thought to ask, what agency you believe that everyday people have in this moment. But that ain't the question I really want to ask. I think the question I want to ask is, what agency do you think that everyday people think they have in this moment? Not exactly the same question. Are you following me?
Yeah, I'm following you.
Yeah. I only raise it because I don't know that in this moment, given the way that Trump is moving, that the demos, that everyday people think they have much agency in this moment. That's my concern. That's my fear.
That's not fair, too. I mean, I think, so first of all, I think that a lot of people think that they don't have any agency in this moment, and we tend to collectively underestimate our power as individuals. And it's easy. When you're standing against something alone, it feels overwhelming. It feels big. It feels like you don't have control. It feels like it's happening to you. And people are walking around saying, if somebody needs to do something, I think what I've been trying to scream is, we're the somebody. We have to be the ones to do the something. But what does something look like? Well, it means finding your political home. I know I'm in D.C., and Delta Days are happening right now, right? The Deltas are organizing. I see the Divine Nine out there, and they're organizing. You have organizations like ours, Common Cause, that has a member base that we can be a political home for people. We find other organizations, NAACP, and many of our other partners who are saying, come to us. We are stronger together, collectively, because it does feel overwhelming when it's just you. So I would say first thing for folks is find your political home. Figure out where you want to be, whose values are aligned with yours, and then act. There are town halls that are happening all across the country. There are people who are putting pressure on their elected leaders. You see a lot of them, there are these empty chair town halls that are happening right now because people aren't even showing up. Reaching out to your members of Congress. Going to all of your local meetings. A lot of people forget that there is a lot of power that happens at the local level. So whether it's finding out what's going on with your school board, but getting civically engaged in a way that maybe you haven't before, because you might not be able to control what's happening in Congress, but you can control what's happening at your local board of education to make sure that our kids are not getting whitewashed versions of history or not learning history, right? So there are things that people can do, that those small little things combined with other bigger things, when you come together with more people, man, we can own this country, when I say for the good.
Yeah. My fear is that the more oppressive this regime, speaking now of the Trump administration, the more oppressive this regime becomes, the more I think people fear, or don't feel at least, that they have any agency in this moment to do anything to fight back. And yet, there are places where we see the fight back. So the fight back is real, no question about it. Virginia's right about that. But that is my concern. When we come forward with Virginia K. Solomon, who is the president and CEO of Common Cause, I want to get to that conversation I just mentioned a moment ago about their campaign that was launched earlier this year called #Fire Elon Musk. We all saw the story, certainly I saw the story, that the Washington Post, owned by another oligarch, Jeff Bezos, backed out of running the Fire Elon Musk ad in the Washington Post. We'll get an update on that. But Virginia K. Solomon and more when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It was a season-changing moment for the USC women's basketball team and the NCAA women's tournament. USC All-American Juju Watkins fell to the floor Monday night midway through the first quarter, clutching her right knee. 2 hours later, an MRI exam revealed that the sophomore from Compton had torn her ACL and will need surgery. Watkins' season is over, and quite possibly USC's dreams of winning the national championship. Watkins' knee buckled as she was racing down court with the ball between two Mississippi State defenders. The leading candidate for Player of the Year honors had to be carried to the locker room. USC won the game to advance to the Sweet 16, but losing Watkins for the rest of the tournament and maybe part of next season is a devastating blow to the USC program and the city of Los Angeles. More on Watkins later today in my afternoon Sports Minute. No debate, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
A new day is on the horizon. Behind every great moment in history, there's a woman whose story went untold. This March on KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing those hidden narratives to light. Hear extraordinary stories of women who transformed science, politics, arts, and community. Women you've never heard of, but should know. Celebrating Women's History Month on KBLA Talk 1580, where every story matters.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready? What's up? Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. We know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your flag. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Lake Source Whole Home Water Systems filter water from every tap. In honor of their anniversary, they're giving new customers a special offer. Call
1-800-323-577-5562. From traditional funeral services to memorials to direct cremation, pre-needs, and more. Call Charlotte White at Exquisite Family Mortuary for Southern hospitality in Southern California. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. Exquisite Family Mortuary is located nearby in Inglewood, California. Exquisite Family Mortuary, where your loved one becomes our loved one.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. With that kind of money, you could go big time on a fancy water bottle with ultra titanium alloy metal. You're not sure why you need all that. I mean, it just holds water. But you're getting it anyway, because if you're hiking near an active volcano and you accidentally drop the bottle into molten lava, your water will still be icy cold. Switch to Progressive and you could save big time. water bottles. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in all states. Potential savings
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call
That is the demand that we are urging people to get on board, sign this petition, do as much as they can to push this president and this White House, regardless of their political affiliation, to get rid of this billionaire oligarch.
I don't mean to be technical here, but when we say fire Elon Musk, the Trump administration might very well respond by saying Elon Musk doesn't have a job. He doesn't have a title. He is not a government employee. They might respond in that frame. So fire him from what? They would say.
Well, he does have a role as a special government employee. I think that's one thing. And so even though he's not taking a paycheck, he does have a special designation that gives him access to the highest levels of government and to really high-level information. So whether or not he's getting paid for it or not, he has access to things that regular people, everyday folks, don't and shouldn't, quite frankly. But also, Donald Trump, he staked his claim on telling people you're fired. Why should it be any different for somebody who's working with him in this administration?
Yeah. What? While we're on it, before I get to the Washington Post, while we're on this, what do you make of the outsized influence? And I mean, I said earlier that Washington is bought and bossed by big money and big business. So this is not a new frame, if we're being honest about it. But it is arresting for a lot of people to see the power that these oligarchs are wielding in unison. It was arresting for people to see these oligarchs all seated next to or behind Donald Trump at the inauguration. So it's so in our face right now that it's, to your point, sort of hard to ignore. Right, we see it so clearly. What's your sense that Common Cause had paid for? Didn't just want to, had paid for, signed the contract with the Washington Post to run this ad in the Post. Let me describe the ad, and then I'll let Virginia describe what happened when the ad was supposed to run and didn't. So the ad's design featured a large picture of a laughing Elon Musk with his head tilted back, along with a cutout image of the White House and large white text that read, "Who's running the country, Donald Trump or Elon Musk?" Lower on the first page of the ad, a smaller font text said, "Since day one, Elon Musk has created chaos and confusion and put our livelihoods at risk, and he is accountable to no one but himself. The Constitution only allows for one president at a time. Call your senators and tell them it's time Donald Trump fire Elon Musk." The ad read, followed by the URL, firemusk.org. The second page of the ad said, "No one elected Elon Musk to any office." So hopefully you can visualize that. You get a sense of what the ad would have looked like had it run in the Washington Post. As I mentioned, the contract was signed, you paid your money, and because it's public, I can just tell you what the amount was, $115,000 for the ad, contract signed, money paid, and the Washington Post, owned by Mr. Bezos, pulled the plug on the ad. Why, Virginia?
Well, that's a good question. They wouldn't give us a reason. And so that is a big problem in itself. And the interesting thing, though, is, Tavis, that this particular ad was going into the White House edition, the Washington edition of the Washington Post. And that very specialized one goes to both the White House and the executive office. It goes to the Pentagon, and it goes up on the Hill. This is a special edition of the paper that's run. And this is the one that would have guaranteed that this ad was, there's a wrap on the outside, and then there's the inside ad. This would have gone on the president's desk. it would have gone to everybody in his administration. So they were okay with it go running on the inside in the paper that didn't go on Donald Trump's desk. They weren't okay with it going on the one that went to the president's desk.
The Washington Post is, I mean, again, I keep saying the same thing. No naivete. I don't want to sound naive. The Washington Post is splitting hairs like that.
Yep. And so when we asked them, and it was, we assume, again, we can only assume because without information, all you can do is create your own narrative. But what we can say is that we found it odd that they did not want this landing on the president's desk, and they would not give us an answer. And so, and they were the ones who gave us samples of the artwork that we could use. So we were in compliance with all of their requirements, so to speak. There was nothing that would have told us anything other than, you know, that somehow there was some kind of violation that we needed to correct. No, there was nothing. They just decided that we couldn't do it. And so the question was whether or not there was interference from Jeff Bezos himself. And I think we kind of got the answer. We saw what happened with the cartoonist who inside the Washington Post not that long ago who actually ended up leaving because she was not allowed to have her cartoon that didn't reflect on Jeff Bezos very nicely in that ad, nor Donald Trump. It kind of showed billionaires groveling at Donald Trump's feet. Yeah. That was not allowed. He put a stop to that. They didn't allow an endorsement to run back in November. That's right. And then most recently, they've changed the opinion section so that you're not able to write any opinions about anything that isn't in line with Jeff Bezos' philosophy. Mm-hmm. So they are controlling the narrative as much as they can, and I think it's going to get even worse. And there are a lot of people who have now unsubscribed from the Washington Post because they feel like they aren't sure if democracy is really going to die in the dark or if the Washington Post is going to show up the way that it is supposed to as a media truth teller. Yeah.
As you know, that old adage suggested that the first casualty in any war is the truth, and clearly we are in a war in this country for the soul of this nation, and so the truth may very well, in fact, be the first casualty. How concerning is that for you when a paper of the stature of the Washington Post, under the ownership of Jeff Bezos, is essentially bending the knee?
I mean, it is a concern, and I think it should be a concern for everybody. And I think that this, once again, Jeff Bezos, his interests are not for making sure that there is truth-telling happening. It is Jeff Bezos' interest is to make more money for Jeff Bezos and his companies. And so I think we also have to ourselves look at independent journalists more closely, people like yourself who have been doing this for a long time, who are going to tell the truth, and other media outlets who maybe are funded through a nonprofit structure or other ways, because we know that big corporate media, we can't rely on them. We saw what just happened with Joy Reid with MSNBC. Mm-hmm. People were infuriated. She was fired because she is a critic of Donald Trump for no other reason. Joy is one of the most popular commentators on there, the journalists on MSNBC. And if Joy could go for telling the truth, what hope do we have for other media outlets? So I think we're going to need to look more at independent journalists. We need to be able to look at the smaller media outlets who are going to have the courage to be able to tell the truth.
Yeah, I've been sporting a new hoodie of late at my station here in L.A. This program is syndicated across the country, and I'm grateful for that, as I say all the time. We're heard in cities from California literally to the Carolinas, but my home station in L.A. Has produced a hoodie that I've been wearing a lot lately, and everywhere I wear it, people want to get a copy of it. Well, they want to take it off my back. I said, no, you can order your own. But the hoodie says, Black media is the resistance. Black media is the resistance. And so to the point the Virginia case Solomon just made, we're going to need some independent media over these next 4 years if the Washington Post and others are going to bend the knee in the way that they are. More with the CEO and president of Common Cause, Virginia case Solomon, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or play. Stop, opt out. Individual results may vary. Consult a doctor prior to use.
You've lost so much weight. How'd you do it? I got medical treatment for weight loss through Zelty and lost 50 pounds. I struggled for the longest time, but Zelty makes it easy and affordable to get weight loss treatment 100% online. Zelty providers can prescribe FDA-approved weight loss medications clinically shown to help people lose weight, like Wegovy, Zepbound, and others.
I've heard those medications can help you lose weight, but aren't they expensive?
Zelty can help get the medication covered by insurance, so it's as little as $0 a month. What if you don't have insurance? No problem. Zelty may be able to help you get other GLP-1 medications for 80 to 90% off the price of name brand medications.
I'm ready to start losing weight. How do I get started with Zelty?
Just text.
Text Sunny to 200-300 to get started today with Zelty and see if weight loss medications like Wegovy and Zepbound are right for you. Don't wait. Text now for a link to your exclusive offer. Text Sunny to 200-300. That's Sunny to 200-300. Sunny to 200-300.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement. Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's monologue or dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
Tavis Smiley and Virginia K. Solomon, who is the president and CEO of Common Cause. Virginia, I'm watching my time is getting away from me here. I was reading a piece the other day, where is this at? In the Hill. And the piece was titled, 5 Ways Democrats Can Fight Trump and Defend the Republic. Again, 5 Ways Democrats can fight Trump and defend the Republic. Virginia made it clear already, Common Cause will come after you whether you're left or right, Republican or Democrat. They speak truth to power and to the powerless, and that's a beautiful thing. And I celebrate always the work that Common Cause does, and does quite remarkably. And yet this piece got my attention because of the third point in this list of 5 things that this writer argues that Democrats can do to fight Trump and defend the Republic. The first was, or is, to stop embarrassing themselves, Chuck Schumer. Just stop embarrassing yourself, number 1. Number 2, Democrats and independents should tell voters in specific detail what they would do if they were given back control of the White House. They got to get their own narrative out there. They have not done that. But third, and that's what I'm getting to here, Democrats should demonstrate a more responsible way to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal system. If you believe that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are earnestly, I don't, but if you believe they're earnestly trying to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal system, and that is an issue that is resonating with certain voters, why won't Democrats or independents demonstrate a more responsible way, again, to eliminate waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal system? What say you, Virginia?
I mean, I think I would say that that's spot on. I mean, Look, my grandmother used to say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's similar with this, right? It's not what you do, it's how you do it. Nobody says, yeah, I want to have my taxpayer dollars go to waste. I don't want my taxpayer dollars to be abused. Nobody's saying that. I think what the Democrats need to do, though, is talk to everyday folks and say, well, what does that look like for you? I think part of the problem that we're seeing is not just asking them what they would do, but asking people what they want. Mm-hmm. The Democratic Party has moved so far away from asking people what they actually want and telling people what they need. And I think that's part of the challenge that we have. But I think what they absolutely need to do is come up with something. I don't know the perfect answer to that, but I will say that for me, and where I have a problem with the way that this administration is handling it, is that they're using AI to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot use AI to decide impact on people's lives. And so they're making so many mistakes because they're just saying, they're looking at numbers and not seeing people or impact behind those numbers. And I think if the Democrats were smart, they would come up with a strategy that would tell the story of not only how they would identify where there's potential waste, fraud, or abuse, but then how they would take that level of that information and analyze it to make sure that it's actually right. Is what's happening, because we're seeing this even with, I'll do something as like simple as the parks, the park service. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, our national parks, we don't have anybody to take care of the trails or to prevent forest fires or to be able to identify, endangered species, things like that seem really simple. AI can't do that. They can't look at a screen and say, oh, this is what the budget says, this is a waste. And there are many things that they are doing that is wrong, and I think whatever the Democrats can do to show a better way of identifying that and determining what the human impact will be of that, well, then that's their story.
Our remaining moments with Virginia K. Solomon of Common Cause when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say, when we come forward?
He's not going back.
And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA max with Robinhood Gold. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new Gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found BenefitsCheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. BenefitsCheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds. Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Bam! Out of nowhere,
crashed, hurt, don't panic, don't wait, don't call your insurance company. Call 877-CARE-LAW, the car accident attorneys who care about your case and win you the big money you deserve. Car accident, serious injury, other firms just handle cases. We own them at 877-CARE-LAW. We're the premier injury law firm with a powerhouse team of medical experts who prove your injuries, fight for your rights, and give you the max payout fast. No fees unless you win. Dial 877-CARE-LAW now or visit 877-CARELAW.com.
877-CARE-LAW. 877-CARE-LAW. Hurt in a crash, don't stall, just call 877-CARE-LAW. Faster wins, bigger pay. After an accident, call right away. 877-CARE-LAW. 877-CARE-LAW.
Car accident, injury, don't call your insurance company. Call one team, one win. 877-CARE-LAW. Call now or go to 877-CARELAW.com.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned into Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley, Virginia K. Solomon, who's the president and CEO of Common Cause. Delighted to have had her on in this hour. 3 minutes to go here. I should mention very quickly that Common Cause commissioned a survey. And this poll found that a near majority of registered voters want Donald Trump to fire Elon Musk. This is not just something that Common Cause is calling for. It appears that a near majority of fellow citizens want Donald Trump to fire Elon Musk. He's just gone too far. Just wanted to mention that so that you know that it's not just Common Cause. Again, a whole lot of us would love to see Donald Trump fire Elon Musk, number one. Number two, as you heard Virginia say earlier, the motto of Common Cause is holding power accountable. I want to read finally here one comment from one listener, and there are a number of these like this. I just don't have time to go through that many of them, Virginia. But it says, Tavis, my inclination typically tends toward optimism. Wise Washington Post capitulations, ... I'm concerned. So my actual question is this. What happens if all the powers that be continue to bend the knee? What happens if all the powers that be continue to capitulate, Virginia?
Well, we lose our democracy fully and permanently. And I hate to say that so bluntly because I don't like fear-mongering, and I tend to be optimistic as well. But here's the one thing I will say for people who are looking for something to be hopeful about. Just be reminded that we have the semblance of freedom in this country. We have the perception of freedom in this country. But at the end of the day, this country has never fully worked for all of us. So there are some things that were already fundamentally wrong with it that we knew needed to be fixed. And this moment, if everything fell apart, this is also an opportunity for us to reimagine what is possible and work towards a democracy that actually serves the people. And we can, if we come together, if we are collective, and I know it feels really big, and there's not going to be a big kumbaya moment. I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. But I also think that what we can build outside of this and what we can build moving forward can be something that will serve us well into the future. And the question is, how many people are going to demand those changes when the opportunity comes about?
It is indeed ominous, but the fight back is real, and as you know, when we fight, we win, and so we thank Virginia K. Solomon for doing just that, fighting back as the president and CEO of Common Cause. Enjoyed this conversation immensely, Virginia. Thank you for your time. We'll do it again, I hope, one day.
Thank you so much, Tavis. Have a good one.
You too. Good to have you on. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It was a season-changing moment for the USC women's basketball team and the NCAA women's tournament. USC All-American Juju